Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Yes Corner number 11. This is our show on Independence Live, where we try and highlight some of the organisations and some of the individuals who are really helping to add an extra resource and support to the independence movement. And tonight, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome two individuals who have actually done a lot for Scottish independence over the last few months. I'd like to introduce Nina, who's from Germany, and Andrea, who's from Italy. Hello to you both.
Hi.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
No problem at all. And where are you at the moment?
We are in Oxford, in England. Same flat, as you can tell. There is not much sun, I must say, but
Okay, fantastic. Well, thanks again for joining us. I came across your organisation, Europe for Scotland, a couple of months ago, and it was Leslie Riddick who'd said that you were doing a tremendous job highlighting Scotland's kind of campaign to still kind of be considered and remembered and to be thought of in Europe. And she was very complimentary of the things that you were doing. And I would love to have this opportunity to kind of push this out to a little bit more to the movement. And firstly, to find out what it is that you're doing, and then secondly, just a little in my own way to say thanks for your efforts so far. So for those who maybe haven't come across Europe for Scotland before, would you like to tell us a little bit about what it is that you've been doing over the last few months?
Sure. So Europe for Scotland is a campaign that is asking the European Union to welcome back Scotland if Scotland wants to rejoin. We launched an open letter signed by 170 European intellectuals that was published on several European newspapers at the end of April, 1 week before the Scottish parliamentary election. And since then, we opened the letter for every citizen in Europe to sign. And we want to convince the European leaders to say clearly and loudly that, of course, Scotland should be welcome back in the EU if Scotland wants to rejoin. I mean, we are a small campaign. We are really a small group of people. Nina and I are coordinating the daily activities, but the campaign was launched and thought of by Anthony Barnett, who you might know. He's been an activist that for decades has been campaigning for a written democratic constitution.
Mm-hmm.
He's been an advocate for some time for Scottish independence.
And he's the founder of Open Democracy, independent journalist website.
Yeah, he's a good friend of Scottish independence and progressives in Scotland. So, that's fantastic. So he had this idea, and then did he get in touch with you, or did you?
He approached us. So a year ago, well, more than a year ago by now, Andrea and I wrote an open letter to Angela Merkel, asking her to support Eurobonds, and it was sort of like I guess because we are, I am German, Andrea is Italian, we are a couple, and we live in England, so in some context we get to experience the best of Europe together, and it really was close to our heart. And at the time we asked Anthony to sign. We knew him a little bit already because Andrea had also done a different campaign that Anthony was aware of, Take a Break from Brexit, which was pushing for like a deliberate delay of the Brexit negotiations so that there could be some discussions between Remainers and Leavers instead of just animosity. And anyway, so we knew Anthony Barnett. Anthony Barnett was supporting that letter last year, and he really liked what we were doing. So he approached us again with this new letter and asked us to write it with him and to recruit signatories with him.
And I just want to add, he was, of course, he wanted to launch it when Brexit happened. And I was reading what was happening in Italy, and I told him, wait, we need to wait. Something major is going to happen. And so we postponed for a year, essentially, because it wasn't the right time to launch a campaign like that at the beginning of the COVID pandemic. And COVID has been affected the whole campaign. It's been affecting everything really. So we had to delay, and so we launched a year later, last April.
Okay, and so at the heart of the campaign was asking EU citizens to sign this letter. I think on the website it's 7 or 8 different languages that you can sign the letter in.
Yeah, we have the letter in more than 20 languages, including Scots and Gaelic. We are aiming to have it translated in all European languages. Is something we are doing at the moment. Because we want to also make a point about the strength and the richness of European diversity, and we want every citizen to feel at home in our website and sign the letter in their language.
Fantastic.
This is about yeah.
And it would be fantastic if there's any questions from our audience for Nina and Andrea, and or any comments. If you're wanting to, I'm going to say thanks for what they're doing, but that's entirely down to you if you feel like that. Any questions or comments, that'd be great, and I'll make sure that I get them across to Nina and Andrea. In terms of the signatures to date, where are you in terms of numbers, and can you give me a little bit of kind of background on who's signing it and things like that?
So we are about 13,000 citizens have signed the letter. We had, of course, a major push when we published the letter in April. And then again, when we published a video on the anniversary of the Brexit vote, in which we convinced some of our supporters to participate in this video, where we make a message to say Europeans remember that Scotland voted to remain, and it was ignored since then.
And it featured a lot of different languages as well.
Yeah, it was in the different languages. So yeah, I mean, at the moment we are focusing mostly on building up a team that can support the campaign in the months ahead. So we're not focused too much on increasing the number of signatories now, but we are trying to build a team of people around Europe with the idea to start pushing very hard when time comes in autumn, and especially because at the moment in Europe everyone everywhere is dealing with COVID, so attention are now focused on politics and not certainly on European politics that much. But we think that there is a lot of affection for Scotland in Europe, and so we want to relaunch the signatories recruitment from September. But everyone can sign even today. So if you go to the website, everyone can sign at any time.
Fantastic. Well, please, go on, Nina.
No, I was just going to say, I think one thing that I'm really proud of is that we reached this by word of mouth and just publishing a few articles in newspapers, but mostly by word of mouth. So we didn't spend any money on advertising because we don't have any money to spend. So it's a modest number of signatories, if you will, considering how many people would be very happy to sign in Europe and are just not aware of our campaign. So we have a lot of room for growth. And yeah, we hope to get there in time. Great.
Well, I'll just echo Hashberry Stumble's comment there. So thanks very much for that. Well, certainly I would say if you're planning to relaunch, then certainly Independence Live can help you do that, because we would love to help you amplify this, because we think it's really, really important. I take it that the letter and the signatories is just like a first step. Have you got any other further plans of how we make it clear to those in positions of power in Europe and the average citizen that Scotland didn't vote to leave the European Union and is still very much in favour of Europe? Whether or not as members of the European Union is something we can possibly discuss, but certainly much more closer relationship to Europe. So what happens next with the Scotland for Europe campaign?
Well, we have big plans ahead. So we want to, we have a Brussels plan, so to speak, in which we want to try to lobby the European parliamentarians to convince them to pass a resolution in the European Parliament saying something like Scotland should be welcome. And of course, we will wait a little bit because we want Scotland to make the first move. So as soon as there is a formal announcement from the Scottish government, we'll start pushing the plan. At the same time, we also want to reach out to European public opinions. So we are at the moment creating an ambassador scheme in which in each country we want to have a group of activists that want to work to welcome back Scotland. And we will produce materials like videos and content in each European language to explain what things that everyone kind of know, but it's better to repeat. Like Scotland is an ancient nation with strong ties with Europe that has voted overwhelmingly to remain. All things that everyone in Scotland knows very well, but in Europe people need to be refreshed. Mostly they know, but they don't have it fresh. So we just want to refresh these messages and also make the point that citizens can have an impact, because politicians are always slow. European politicians are very cautious, but citizens can say it loud and clear. Now we want Scotland back if they want to come back. So we want to foster this kind of citizens activism.
Fantastic. Well, that's something we would definitely support really on any topic, as this more of engagement from the citizens rather than just waiting for our politicians to take action. What can the independence movement, what can the individuals who are watching this live and will also watch this on catch up, what can we do mainly as Scots ourselves to help you amplify your campaign?
Well, you can sign first our open letter. Go to europeforscotland.com, where you can find it in English and in Scots and in Gaelic, or any other language that you may speak. And and then share our petition with friends that you have, especially if you have friends in other European countries. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. We're not as active as we wish we were, but we hope once we have more people in our team, that's also going to change. And we definitely have quite a backup of things that we need to share or want to share in the coming weeks, like more videos and stuff like that. And you can also get involved in our campaign. We're very happy to get more people on board. We're always looking for advice and feedback. I mean, I have never lived in Scotland. I'm German. I only know Scotland as a visitor. I love Scotland, but I certainly know a lot less than most people listening to this program will know. And so we are very open to suggestion and advice. People can reach out to us, info@europeforscotland.com, so our email. Or on Twitter or Facebook as well.
Well, I'll make sure I put those links into the comments beneath so people can. But I'll say I reckon that by the end of August that we can get that number up to 15,000 just with our audience around Independence Live. So that's our target. End of August, and we'll keep you updated to let you know. Please do let me know in the comments if you think that's likely that we can get a couple of thousand independent supporters to sign that and give it a little bit of momentum. And I love that idea of signing and passing it on to someone on the continent who to ask. I definitely think we'll take you up on that. Well, I've got one big question, I suppose, for both of you, which is why Scotland, and why have you decided to run a campaign like this?
Well, I have to say, I have been living in Scotland for quite a few years, actually. I was in Scotland when the Brexit referendum happened. I lived in Glasgow for 3 years. I was working at the university. And I feel like I need to reciprocate, because Scotland really was welcoming me. So I need to do something for Scotland. And then, of course, I feel the injustice, what happened in the last few years. I mean, it's fair to say that Scotland was completely ignored throughout the Brexit process, in a way that always felt unfair. The Scottish government was putting forward its Brexit position. The Scottish Parliament was saying what sort of compromise they wanted, and the UK government never ever acknowledged, not even responded. that there was a different understanding of what should be the outcome of Brexit. Compromise was denied. And this speaks volume, not just about the, if you want, lack of democracy on many aspects of the Brexit process, but also the dysfunctionality of the UK constitution. Because obviously, I mean, from my perspective of Italian, it was a no-brainer that if Scotland votes a way and England votes another way and Northern Ireland votes one way and Wales vote another way, you need to reach a compromise. You need to have something like a soft Brexit if you really want to press ahead with that. And to be honest, that never happened, and I think it was completely unfair.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, Andrea is not alone in thinking that, like, some of our signatories, or quite a few of our signatories that we initially reached out to are political scientists, and some of them actually published on this topic, like Brendan O'Leary is a renowned Irish political scientist based in America, and they were writing about this back in 2016, and they were just completely ignored. But yeah, coming back to why we are doing this, I think it's also another aspect is like when something terrible happens, like for instance Trump's election, there's often also a chance that something good comes out of it. Like in America, you saw the women's marches, you've seen the rise of Black Lives Matter, and I think what good can come of Brexit? There's not a lot that I can think of, but Scottish independence certainly. If it's done in the way I hope it will be done, which is like Scotland becoming this modern, progressive country that is welcoming and that is more just and a lot of good things, that leads by example and that rejoins Europe, that would be something really amazing to happen out of something terrible like Brexit. And I think it would also have such a positive impact on Europe as a whole and on England ultimately as well, because they would just, I guess it would be quite traumatic for England initially, but at the same time, when there is a terrible relationship and there's a breakup, maybe one partner feels rejected and sad, and ultimately they work on themselves and they are a better person afterwards. So that's kind of what I hope.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting to hear, and fantastic that both your thoughts of Scotland are so kind of affirming. So that's fantastic. And when you're looking forward to the other things that you're looking to do in the campaign, and we've mentioned the possibility of people helping you share and some ideas and getting in touch. Have you got any examples of similar projects like this, similar campaigns? Or is this something that you're kind of starting from scratch? Because it does seem, a really innovative idea to kind of have this citizen-led approach. Any other kind of things that you've been basing this on, or is it all, as I said, completely from scratch?
Well, I guess we both believe in citizens' activism, that, things will change if citizens get active. And especially when it comes to the European Union, which is, if you want, it's a new political project. It's something that is still on development. We think that citizens getting active is key to build the Europe of tomorrow. I guess as an experience, Nina and I had this letter that we wrote, that Nina mentioned at the beginning of the chat, that we wrote in April 2020, when we were a bit in despair because the pandemic arrived to Europe and there was not much understanding between countries of the crisis that was going on. Like I was from Italy, and in Germany people were not paying attention. So we said, let's write a letter. Let's try to get citizens to ask Angela Merkel to go for Eurobonds to build a recovery of solidarity. And that was, again, the same idea, the idea that if citizens come together, they can make an impact.
Yeah, I mean, you are also part of this coalition, right? Citizens Take Over Europe. So there's plenty of organizations across Europe pushing for, new ideas. And I think we are just this generation that has experienced Europe in a different way from previous generations. I mean, I'm not, of course, I don't want to generalize, like also people in other generations, including like my mom lived abroad for a while and got to experience that. But in our generation, it's something so common and also not limited to certain sort of like professions or classes. And I think as a result, we have just a different understanding of Europe. We have these circles of friends that are from different countries. We've lived with housemates from different countries, and we've seen how much that has enriched our lives. So, I think there is plenty of people like us that are dreaming of a better Europe and hoping that that can come about.
Yeah, I think if we were to go into the discussions about what Europe is and what it can be, I would certainly hope that if Scotland did decide to rejoin the European Union, it could be this more left progressive voice within Europe. I would hope that that's where we would be. The other thing I would say is it seems to be that when we're speaking to citizens in Europe about Scotland, I live in Barcelona. I feel like we've got it's like pushing an open door. People are so, they really respond well to the idea of Scotland being part of the European Union and Scots in general, and I think what Scotland means to a lot of people. So I think it is a numbers game. I don't think it's too difficult to persuade people to support the idea of Scotland in Europe. I think it is getting the momentum for it to make a difference, and certainly this kind of citizen activism is a fantastic way to do it. We've got a question from John, which I'll put up. You did mention your Facebook page a little bit earlier. I will put all of the links in the comments so everyone can follow it, but just want to say the Facebook again so John can head on straight over to there once we're finished.
Yes, absolutely. It's Europe for Scotland. So if he goes on Facebook and look for Europe for Scotland, he will find the page. I mean,
simple as that.
As simple as that.
Simple as that.
Easy answer.
Brilliant, but thanks very much, John, for showing your interest there. And it is with everything that we are doing on Yes Corner and Independence Live, it is about allowing people to find things so they can share it. Because if you're interested in this or you're excited by the idea, then please do share the Facebook group, the Twitter, the contact details in the description, and also this episode. Now, I wanted to ask you both quite a personal question, which is, if you don't feel comfortable answering, I completely understand. But how do you both feel as European citizens living in the United Kingdom at the moment?
Well, it's very mixed feelings. I mean, on the day after the Brexit referendum, I actually, I had this neighbor next door that I often heard playing the piano. And on the day after the referendum, he played Rule Britannia. And I felt like, I felt so unwelcome. At the same time, some of my housemates were British, English, in fact. And I could tell that they felt the exact same. They felt like exiles in their own country. And so we do have a network of friends that are in a similar position. At the same time, we also know quite a lot of people that have gone back to the countries in Europe where they came from because they just no longer liked living in the UK. So it's sort of this strange feeling, like being in limbo, like not really knowing where we want to be in the future, seeing how other people make those choices of going back. And it's very heartbreaking because I know there are so many people in this country that did not vote for Brexit, that would love us to stay. And at the same time, we are very aware of those that don't. And just another anecdote, I used to go swimming every day, and I remember one day I sat in a hot tub with an elderly man, and we were talking, and then somebody was just kind of being really annoying in the pool, and then he was saying, "Oh, these foreigners." And I said, "Well, I'm a foreigner." And he was kind of saying to me, "Well, you're one of the good foreigners." And I think that's also this thing, you're very aware that if a British person behaves terrible in a public place, everyone says, what a terrible person. But if it's somebody from a different country, then the behavior is attributed to everyone from that country. So we are also very aware that we are almost like ambassadors, and we need to be on our best behavior, because if I'm a terrible person, then people will not think it's Nina who's terrible, but it's maybe all Germans that are being a bit rude or whatever. So yeah.
No, I understand that. And Andrea, how do you feel?
Very similarly, I felt there was if you want, a racist component of Brexit. But I guess what struck me the most at the time, and still now, was how much was completely improvised. We know about the lies, but we never knew about the plan. There was never a plan for Brexit. It was they made it up all step of the way without knowing what was happening next. They didn't figure out what was the situation in Northern Ireland. They didn't have any sort of clear idea about what sort of trading relationship they wanted to have with you. So that was striking, because you could tell that they hadn't figured it out themselves before launching this project, and they still don't have it now. And so it was driven by ideology. It was driven by something else, because it was not a plan. So it was, it was something.
Well, that seems to have continued through the Conservative administration. I don't think many people would describe them as an administration with a plan for anything. So I don't think that's a surprise. I've just got a really nice comment again from John, which I'll just put on screen for you there.
What Europe can do to ensure immediate entry? I guess Europe can make a statement in principle. Of course, they cannot do much more at the moment, because they can only say what they would do in case Scotland becomes an independent country. It's a bit tricky, obviously, because until there is a referendum, the Scottish government doesn't have the kind of sovereign power to speak with the European institutions. But at the same time, and this is what we want them to be, not shy, we want them to make their voice clear. And the reason is also practical. When there was the Brexit referendum, the EU stayed completely silent, and a lot of lies were said, and there was no correction to those lies. I'm sure that if there is an independence referendum in Scotland, there's going to be someone that is going to say, oh, the EU will never, ever let Scotland rejoin in case it becomes independent. And we want the EU to be preemptive and say, of course, Scotland will be welcome back.
Yeah.
We are positive that they already think, most of the European leaders are of this opinion, not all of them probably, but most of them. But we want them not to be shy. We want them to say it clearly. And not just about Scotland, to be honest. We want them to be welcoming to nations and citizens that want to join. Of course, Scotland the Scottish government is very clear about that, and we really appreciate Nicola Sturgeon's approach to this. But the EU should be clear that in the stage before the referendum, so a statement in principle. After the referendum, if there is a vote for independence, then the EU can do a huge deal in terms of simplifying the negotiation to allow Scotland to rejoin, offering support to Scotland's budget in the months in the aftermath of the independence, and broadly speaking, also try to facilitate a speedy re-entry, because of course you know that other countries in the past have experienced long negotiations with you, because they were coming from a very different place. Scotland has been in the EU for 47 years.
Finland was not a member of the EU, and it took 3 years.
Yeah, it depends where you start from. And Scotland has been in the EU, so the laws are already kind of compatible. So the EU should do what they can to make it as quickly as possible.
Well, that's really interesting, and thanks for looking at that. I also think that Europe can do a lot, even without Scotland applying for official EU citizenship, EU membership. And certainly something like currency swaps, if Scotland was to set up its own central bank, Europe could provide fantastic backing by swapping euros for the new Scottish pound. So there's a lot of things that Europe could do with initially Scotland joining in the European Union. So I hope we get to that stage, and I think it's fair to say that the sooner that we move on independence in Scotland, then the sooner that we're able to move towards Scotland being part of a more active player in Europe, whether that be as part of the European Union or not. So I just want to say best of luck with all you're doing, and we are here, Independence Live specifically, but the movement more generally. And thanks very much for everything that you're doing, and hopefully I'll speak to you maybe sometime in September, and we can see how that new part of the campaign's going on.
That would be fantastic.
That would be lovely.
Brilliant. Well, nice to meet you both, and thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Very nice to meet you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Bye now. I've gone very blurry. Not too sure what's happening there. Well, that's it for Yes Corner tonight. I hope you enjoyed that, and I thought that was really inspirational. Those two individuals, Andrea and Nina, have put in so much work to further the cause of